Mark from the States, Mark from the States, it's Mark from the United States.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Mark from the States. How are we doing today? I'm doing fantastic. I hope you are as well. Thank you so much for coming. Come sit with me on this big fake couch. You know, today I am truly honored to have the blessing of the National Railway Museum. They've, of course, given me their blessing to watch and learn from their videos, and I am excited to share it with all of you and hopefully get you to subscribe to their channel if you don't already. So the link to this video and to their channel will be in the description, and I encourage you, I beg you, I implore you to go over there and support them. They are doing great stuff. Whether you're a train guy or girl or history buff, and that's what I like about it. I can't say that I'm a huge train person per se, but there's so much history that involves trains or similar rail type vehicles that throughout history that you can't help but get history when you're looking at these older trains and all that stuff, and that's what I love watching. Plus, the trains are cool too. I mean, come on. Being a country such as yours that relies, heavily influenced by the railway, I guess, right? It's of course there's going to be a lot of history that is going to be just linked to trains and other sort of rail fun. What am I trying to say? I don't know. But I'm excited to see this video today. It's a classic British rail commuter train. And it goes on to say it's the Class 414 2-hap, which means nothing to me because I don't know anything about this sort of thing. So hopefully I will learn something today, which I know I will. Hopefully you'll get something out of it too. But before we do, shall we? I think we shall. A lot of people say they like it when I read from this book, so we're going to continue. Plus, the book's just awesome. So, stop. Okay. Let's see here. Nope. I got to take this piece of paper out because it always seems to stop there. We're going to try this again. Because we already read that. And stop. Okay. This is in the deciphering symbols category. It is the livery company symbols. It is wax. I'm going to need my light. Sorry. Wax Chandler's Hall, EC2V7AD, Cutler's Hall, EC4M7BR, Pewter's Hall, EC2V7DE. The City of London, more than anywhere else in London, is jam-packed with mysterious symbols. A significant contributing factor to this are the many coats of arms and heraldic symbols of its more than 100 livery companies. The livery companies started life as trading guilds, for example, fishmongers, grocers, and ironmongers, many being able to trace their origins back to the medieval period. The earliest charter still in existence was given to the Weavers' Company in 1155. My God. Most still retain links with their original trade, and today are predominantly charitable networking institutions that play a role in the unique governance of the city. Members of the companies retain voting rights for key positions within the City of London Corporation, and you must be a member of one of the livery companies to become the Lord Mayor. Oh, yes, I remember watching the Lord Mayor parade, and I noticed when we did watch that, there was a bunch of livery companies being represented there. Yeah, see how it's all coming back. Each company has its own coat of arms with a colorful array of animals and mythical creatures displayed, including unicorns, which is the wax chandlers, elephants, the cutlers, thought to relate to the ivory once used in knife handles, and the seahorses, the pewters. That's a tough word. I just been calling them pewters. Pewters. These can be seen over the entrances to the livery halls and the city. Most of the animals and symbols do not relate to the trade of the company, but give the company an identity and an emblem. That's wild. Yeah, I do remember the Lord Mayor. That was an interesting parade to watch. And I do remember all of the liveries represented there, and I was just like, why? At first, I was like a little confused of why are we seeing all these people? But there you go. It just tied it up in a little bow. Gosh, you gotta love that book. Gotta love that book. All right, so come sit with me, as you are so awesome to do. I appreciate everybody coming to hang out. Our channel is amazing. So let's get into the classic British rail commuter train. Let's do it.
Hello, and welcome to Curator with a Camera with me, Andrew McLean. Today, we're going to be looking at the British Railways Class 414 2-hap.
So that's, I'm gonna guess the 60s.
In the 1950s, Britain was
50s.
finally emerging from the dark days of the Second World War. Rationing finally ended in 1954.
I love
and
this
it was a
old
decade
footage.
in which we were told that we'd never had it so good. In 1955, British Railways published their modernisation plan, which led to a multi-million-pound investment of modernisation, much needed, to a network that had been sorely depleted due to the ravages of its use during the Second World War. And one of the key aspects of that 1955 plan was the electrification of the Kent Coast route.
Okay.
New trains were also commissioned to serve it, and those trains were known as 2-haps. So in the 1950s, this was very much the symbol of modernity on Britain's railways. But this particular unit had a very lengthy career. So it starts off in the 1950s when British Railways was still quite a young organisation and finishes its career at a period when British Rail itself was on the cusp of privatisation, by which time it's very out of date, no longer a symbol of modernity, but a symbol of the drudgery of the commuter and a symbol of that crowded commuter trains that were going in and out of London at that time. Let's go and have a look at what makes this 2-hap so unique and, in fact, very special. I'll just explain the name first of all, because it's a unit that was made up of two vehicles, hence the 2. The HAP, H-A-P, is actually shortened versions taking letters out of the fact that it was a half lavatory train. And the P just stood for, not connected to the toilet incidentally, pneumatic braking, P for pneumatic, so 2-hap. So let's sweep round and have a look at the cab, the front of the 2-hap here. I'm going to go right up to the top there, because you just see on the roof there, you've got the 2 horns. For some reason, that actually makes me, sort of reminds me of Shrek. I don't know why, cartoon character. Anyway, we'll come down and see a number here, 4308. That was added in 1988. The original number of this unit was 6077. Looks like it's 3 windows, but it's only 2, because the centre one is actually the head code panel. And then the right-hand side, that's actually the driver's window. So that's the window that has the windscreen wiper on that.
Yeah. And
let's come down a little bit further. So what's all going on here? All these pipes that are popping down. So there's one here that's painted red. This is the brake pipe. Then the main reservoir pipe coming down here. Yellow. Then you'll see, just follow this pipe all the way around here. What's that? Because it loops round. But to this side. This is the multiple units jumper connector. So these were often connected to other multiple units, not just two HAPs, but others as well.
Do I understand that right? That's what connects to the next car, next train? Is that what he was saying? That's what it looked like it showed, right? I'm going to go back just a tad here.
A jumper connector. So these were often connected to other multiple units, not just two HAPs, but others as well.
Okay.
And then this triangle denotes the fact that this is the section of the unit that has the brake van in it. Now, there was no brake van on the other side, so anyone waiting on the platform, maybe the parcels to go into the brake van, would know immediately that the brake van was at this side, and if it was completely yellow in the front, then they would need to go to the other part of the platform. So that's the front of the vehicle, and what we're going to do now is explore the other side and look at what's underneath it as well. What makes this vehicle go? What makes it tick? First thing you see is the British Rail double arrow. That's the 1960s reband of BR. When these vehicles came out, they were painted green, later painted British Railways blue all over with yellow ends. And then in 1982, the blue-grey was brought in, and it carried this livery until 1989, when it was replaced with another livery too. And we're going to come onto that in a moment, because there's a little bit of a surprise we're going to end on that particular livery. So this will be very familiar to anyone travelling by train the 70s and 80s, but the local services didn't have the blue-grey, and they were only added in the 1980s. But it's an electric vehicle, and there's nothing on top. There's no pantograph, as you see with so many of the electric vehicles in the National Collection. In fact, these vehicles picked up from the third rail from the track itself, by the track, and we need to go down a bit, down to just under here. I'm just going to point this out because it's not immediately obvious what this is. This is the connector that would pick up from the third rail, which runs alongside the track, and it's called a shoe. So the shoe is the pickup here. And then you've got the shoe beam that runs across here, and that's made of wood. That's for insulation purposes, but also safety purposes as well, of course, dealing with electricity. Wood's very, very important. And you'll see in the bogie as well, it says Mark IV there. This is a kind of improved bogie that was added to this vehicle in the 1960s. The original bogie from the 1950s didn't ride particularly well, the Mark Is. So these were uprated for a better and smoother ride. So let's follow it down and see what we can see from underneath. So let's go further with the bogies here. Now inside there, it's got two traction motors, both supplied by English Electric. You just see through there, so 507 was now EE 507, E for English Electric. So that's one of the traction motors. The other one is just at the front of the vehicle here. So that's inside there. Here we are, we'll pull back out, because there's one final thing I want to explain about this vehicle. Because in the late 1980s, this vehicle went from blue-grey to the new colours of the new sectorised Network South East. Very, very different from what you experience with British Railways trains of the time. And the reveal of the new, the shock of the new, 1980s garish livery, the blue, red and white and grey of Network South East, likened by one commentator at the time to a well-known brand of toothpaste. And you can see where he was coming from with that particular comment. But this was to symbolise the fact that Network South East was moving away from what British Railways had been. This was a new type of railway, improving punctuality and improving the quality of the trains, their appearance. And
in the 1980s, the regions of British Railway were abolished and replaced with a system of business sectors. Network Southeast was the sector responsible for London commuter systems. And painting each region differently makes it easier to spot, right? You're not confused. And, I get easily confused, so having a different color train, you know what your color is. That's interesting. So it seems like, okay, so in the 50s, the beginning of going from, the World War II and the modernization, seems like in the 80s, things really get picked up and start changing. A lot of these, a lot of this stuff is picking up in the 80s here as well.
The stations too, a real uptake in quality. And this led to the eve of privatisation of the railways, and when everything changed. And this vehicle itself came out of service in 1995,
Wow.
fell into a state of disrepair, and an amazing restoration job was done here at Shildon
That's
in the
incredible.
workshops with the Network South East Society, led by the redoubtable Chris Osman, who sadly died a few years ago. So this is very much a tribute to the work of Chris and the team, as well as to the incredible long history of this fascinating electric multiple unit. So now we've had a look at the outside of the vehicle. Of course, the really important thing is this was to convey passengers in their thousands. So let's go and have a look inside.
Looks pretty comfortable.
So here we are inside the second class saloon. There's two saloons in this particular carriage. This is one of them here. Altogether, this particular carriage seats 84 people. And you'll see that we've got the classic sort of commuter train here, two seats across on one side, and as we walk through to this particular seating bay, wider seats here, 3 seats, so 5 seats across. And above here as well, above each seat, you've got the luggage space. So this is where you'd put your briefcase or your brolly or your copy of the newspaper you're doing the crossword in. Of course, these trains are very heavily used by commuters for most of their working life.
Can you imagine? I mean, that's not a lot of room. People were smaller, I guess, back then, but it's just having to, I mean, you're shoulder to shoulder on those things, reading the paper, then you got guys smoking next to you. Wow. That would be tough.
You've also got the emergency
Got a wonderful
chain
view,
here
though.
in each section. Alarm for improper use, £50. There we go.
Yeah, don't want to be pulling that.
Notices too, of course, do not lean out of the window. And this is quite interesting as well, because do not lean or open the door when the train is moving. And one of the things that really marked this particular type of train out was the arrival into stations like Victoria and Waterloo, where the doors would open before the train had stopped, and the commuters would get out to make a hasty getaway before the crowds dispersed from the train itself. Let's go down and have a look at something else that's quite interesting. These trains, of course, were not always the most comfortable. They'd be very, very busy, particularly in the morning.
Yeah, look
and
at that.
On particular days, these windows could get condensation, which means just down here, you can just see this here. It's a little hole here and a little groove. That's to enable the condensation
water.
to drip away, so you don't get the wooden surrounds rotting. So as we come to the end of the saloon, you'll see that actually there's no corridor here. Got a big bank of seats across here. In fact, that does cause a bit of an issue, because how do you get to the toilet? There's no way of getting through to the other carriage. In fact, there was no toilet in this particular carriage. This entire carriage, full up of second-class passengers, had no access to a toilet. So that's
Second class.
Great. That's the discomfort of the journey.
Yeah.
The carriage itself was built in the 1950s, but this maquette was added in the 1980s. This is the maquette that was put in by Network South East, which took over these trains in the 1980s. So there we go. Let's move around again.
The stories the seats could tell.
So here we are in the guards compartment, but also doubles up as a parcels van as well. So quite large in here. You can see that the wooden sides here, bars on the windows because of the luggage and so on. Double doors as well. So if you've got especially a big piece of luggage, maybe a pram or something like that, you could open up that second door. The gauges here to do with the braking. Now you see the sign writing there, brake cylinder, train pipe as well, the unit number. Now that unit number was added in the late 1980s, so that probably dates the writing here. You've still got the pencil lines of whoever painted those on for British Rail. And he's even got a little desk as well, the guard. This is where the guards could fill out their forms and so on with their solitary seat. It's also got the Network House, the South East maquette on it. Now, what do we have here? Tool cupboards and ambulance box. I'm just going to open it up. It's empty now, but just to give you an idea of what was in here. You can see the top shelf here. I discovered there's a couple of bits of ephemera being left over from British Railways days. Here we are. You are in your honour not to remove any article from this box, except in cases of injury and illness. And you see this little BR stamp on that, British Railways. And here's also something from an inspection done at Eastleigh Works, where the vehicle, of course, was originally constructed. 7th of May 1991, signed off by C. Potter. So maybe viewers may know who C. Potter was. We'd like to know. This particular part of the carriage wasn't just for the guard, of course. This was also the access for the driver to get into the cab, which we're now going to go into.
Oh, wow,
here
there's
we are.
no room.
Really spacious, but we're going to just come into the right-hand side first of all, because it looks like a ship we're on here with this, this handbrake for parking it up. Fantastic looking thing, this. Look at the use that's had over the years. And as I swing around, it's a bit tight here, but we'll see again. Another sign for English Electric. And that's because this is the fuse cupboard, which if I just open this up, give you an idea of what the inside of this cupboard looks like. Look at the size of these. Gosh. Different fuses, various amps.
Oh, wow.
Fuse panel. Come round. Let's have a look at this. Main lights, for example. And of course, sign there, danger line voltage. And let's go now and have a look at the driver's seat. Network southeast again, this one, but just folds down. So I'm going to take a little seat in there. First thing you'll notice there, maximum speed, 90 miles per hour. The 90's been done in Tipex or something. I think when this changed routes for a while, the speed limit went down to 75 and then had to go back up to 90. Test the brake, all been done quite nicely, this. And then a later edition, again, talking about social change. The country, no smoking at work, so no smoking in the cab. And if you didn't know the reason why, it's because of the Health and Safety at Work Act 1992. Somebody's written on there in marker.
That's funny.
And here's a communication thing, lovely. It's called Loudaphone. And it's got one of these sort of like almost cartoonish speakers coming through here. 2 buttons, speak. And call, so communication. Very much to the fore there. Safety equipment coming in. The AWS Sunflower.
Visual indicators.
Automatic warning system.
Upcoming warnings.
And this come down and have a look at the controls. As you see, sort of set out. So we've got the various gauges to do with braking and so on. Cab lights. This is demister. Misting and so on, route indicator lights and so on. The switches there. And here we have the main controller here. So that's a great piece of kit, isn't it? There we are. I think you can just sort of see down there. Forward, off, and reverse. Different letters on either side. Shutting off and on. Different levels where we're going forwards or backwards. Come down. Also the key as well, which driver would put into here, get the train moving. Then we'd be on our way in and out of London and down the
That's got to be so weird.
So these trains weren't remembered particularly fondly because people were associating them with that day-to-day drudgery of going in and out of the office day after day, week after week, and for many cases year after year. This is the office junior that would maybe start work in the 1950s travelling to work on a train like this. And nearing the end of their career, nearing retirement, they would still be travelling on this particular type of train because this was so long in service. It was the type of train that was used by the well-respected man from the Kinks song in 1965, the one who gets up in the morning, goes to work at 9, comes back home at 5:30, gets the same train every time. That was a story for so many hundreds of thousands of people from the 1950s into the 1990s on these particular trains. These trains travelled millions of miles in their service, carrying hundreds of thousands of people. And for that reason alone, this train is of extreme importance, not just to the railway story, but to the story of Britain itself.
So wild, they're hopping out before it stops. Wow.
Well, we do hope you've enjoyed this episode of Curator with a Camera. And if you have, please do like and subscribe. And keep watching out for more episodes, which will be coming your way soon.
Yes, go to the Railway Museum. It's so important that you do. Go over to their channel. Links will be in the description. Go support them. It's real important. yeah, whether you like trains or not, there's still a lot of history involved. That always because of the association with trains and history, especially in your country. Interesting stuff. That would be very uncomfortable. We're I guess spoiled nowadays with compared to how people used to get to work every morning and go home every day at the end of the day, just crammed into these trains and just doesn't not built for massive comfort, but is built for getting people from point A to point B, and, and just but the longevity of service is pretty incredible. I just love how they're just crossing out how the maximum speed is, and no more smoking, and because of the Health and Safety Act and the Work Act and all that stuff. It's just interesting. I mean, just yeah. Well, anyway, I'm blessed. I'm blessed that the Railway Museum channel has allowed me to watch this with all of you. So thank you to them. Go support them. Thank you to all of you. Hope everybody's happy, healthy, and safe. And we'll see you in the next one. All right. Take care. Bye.
Mark from the States, Mark from the States, it's Mark.